turn your dream reality. We're all a part of the answer to the meaning of it all. Come in and join us for the moment we call now. Rise up, join in, raise the whole vibration.
Yes, we are the answer to the meaning of it all. It's Thursday, September 18th, and you are joining the transmission. You are here in this moment with me, the live stream of consciousness. If you've been here before, you know the protocol. Just do me a favor and type in #live in the comments. This way the algorithm knows something's going on, puts a little beacon out there for people to come check out this little corner of consciousness in this moment. I've been talking a lot about that, intention. What is intention, and the moment, and creating your own reality. And it's just been an amazing realization. It's like you learned a new trick. It's like, wait a second, I'm in charge here of my own reality. So let me start making it cool. And that's actually what's going on with the live stream of consciousness, right? I created a moment every Thursday. I just started showing up, and it's this thing. What's up, Ninja Kitty? Good to see you. And then creating your own reality, that aspect of it. Last week, I got to speak to Tyler Engel, who is also known as Base Forge. And Tyler is this dude who's like got this massive social media following on all sorts of platforms, TikTok and stuff, because he does a lot of ancient wisdom information. He goes into things like the cymatics, what am I thinking of? The cymatic diagrams and how they match up with the temples, the ancient pyramids, and how they're built, and the structures, and like just messages that are in ancient wisdom and things that are underlying consciousness almost that we talk about here all the time. So I'm actually excited to still be doing this, and excited to take this in a different direction. Normally I'm talking to, well, it's not really super different direction, but normally I'm talking to all sorts of metaphysical folk, psychic mediums and channelers, and all sorts of out there kind of stuff, looking at those pieces of the puzzle. But occasionally I'll have just some like regular folk, well, not regular folk, but like creative folk, like actors and directors and musicians who to me are also tapping into consciousness just in a different way. It's a different level of tapping into the energy of consciousness and what is consciousness. And it all ties together. And so tonight I'm going to have on my show Russ Camarda and Ed Huether, who are two extremely talented filmpreneurs, I want to say. I think I just made that up because they know filmmaking from all the different aspects of filmmaking, from writing to acting to directing to building sets. All of these things, you wouldn't believe how much work goes into making a film and how many different people are usually doing those things, but these guys do all of that. And I'm excited to be talking to them about it because I've actually worked with them both in different capacities and seen them both in different capacities doing different things on set. And it's been really amazing. What's up, Quiet Healer? Good to see you. And what is up, Brenda Askew Lucas? Good to see you. Welcome. I think Russ was having a little problem getting in. Maybe he's back. I just heard a pop in the green room, but I don't see him. I think, oh, yeah, there he is. He's getting his camera together. I'm going to let him get his camera together. I see a thumbs up in the green room, and I see Ed just chuckling away. This is exciting. So back to the idea of creating your own reality. I was saying last week, I created my own reality by just reaching out to this guy that I saw on social media and I thought was really incredible. And I said, hey, you want to come on my show? He said, yes. Last week, I had an amazing conversation. So check out that episode if you haven't seen it. Tyler Engel, also known as Base Forge. Incredible stuff. But tonight we're going to get a little different, a little funky. I'm excited. I created my own moment. I brought two friends who live in different parts of Long Island together into one place. It's like a virtual room. We're hanging out together. Welcome to the live stream of Consciousness, Ed Huether and Russ Camarda. What's happening, guys?
What's up?
Hey, filmpreneur, I like that.
Filmpreneur, right? I just kind of, that just came out.
That's pretty good. I gotta remember that one.
That's what the live stream of consciousness is all about. Just like channeling the moment and, and just getting into it. What's up, Russ? Good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while.
Good, man. Can you hear me okay?
I do hear you okay, and I actually see you okay. You were having a little technical difficulties, but
yeah, never try and get onto this show with your phone is my advice for anyone.
Ed had the same
Ran into
issues.
the same thing for a moment. Yeah.
You know what? I agree with you. I would not prefer to do it on my phone, but how fucking amazing is it that you can do this on your phone? Like, here we are broadcasting to the world. Both you guys are sitting with your phones. I'm sitting at my desktop on my computer, and here we are. It's like we're in a Hollywood studio. No, it's not.
Yep.
But whatever.
I'm using the Gordon Willis lighting from The Godfather, so it's
nice.
It's a lot darker where I am.
Get that man a cat.
I love it. I love it. So Russ, you have been on my show a couple of times, and I've put you through the phases, but I haven't put Ed in the hot seat. So I'm going to put Ed in the hot seat real quick, just because
that may be a mistake.
It's a traditional thing that I do here on the show, and that is to get us all on the same page. Actually, I didn't do the breathing, which I usually do to get us on the same page, but I'm excited about this conversation. I usually ask my guests, what is consciousness? What are we even talking about when we talk about consciousness?
Boy, I think there's a bunch of ways you can go with that, but I think it's got to be the reality that you're building around yourself. Because you can go with ignoring what's out there, and that could be your consciousness is this barrier or this echo chamber that you create for yourself, or you can look to gather in as much as is around you.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Interesting. That's a good answer. No, that's a great answer. I've actually been thinking a lot about that. Consciousness is what's cool about kind of this conversation is the idea of going within, right? And really like exploring yourself within to find consciousness, but also consciousness is everything outside of you at the same time. So it's everything inside of you. It's everything outside of you at the same time. I love it. I love talking about it. I love trying to figure out like what the hell it is. And it's interesting because I say I love having conversations trying to figure out where my place is. But if you think about infinity, it goes that way, infinity, and it goes that way, infinity, and you are right in the center of that, which I love.
Interesting. All right, I like that.
Yes, but I'm getting way too esoteric, way too quick. We're not here to talk about this stuff.
Ease me in.
I wanted to put you in the hot seat for just a second, but what I really want to talk about is I happened to come across you two guys on a podcast. I guess it was yesterday or very recently, about a project that you've been doing. I know you've been doing it. You guys have been talking to me about it, but it's really come together. It looks phenomenal. It's like, I've always professed a lot of respect for both of you guys and what you do. But this is like the collaboration of all of those efforts on all of those fronts I was talking about, in the craft of making a film, right? All of the different, you guys literally do almost every aspect of it.
Yeah.
And so the reason I thought it applied to my show was because creating your own reality, that's what you're doing. You guys are making movies that are reminiscent of movies that you guys grew up with and admired, on such a high level of not only craftsmanship, but I think authenticity. And it just really shows through. So I'm excited to talk about it. I think that you guys did this on the other show, so I want to introduce you to everyone. I want to talk to you guys, but can we watch the trailer first? We'll watch the trailer
Sure.
and then we'll see.
Sure, absolutely.
We'll see some of the other clips later on. All right, so let me get this going here. The trailer is right here, and also share the audio. Good. Okay, so sharing this, and let's bring it up here. And I think I can get this at least a little bit bigger into theater mode. Yes, there we go. Awesome. All right, so here we go, guys. Coming soon everywhere around you, because it's been brought into existence by these two guys, the Proctor.
Okay, and pencils down in
C,
3,
C,
2,
C.
pencils down. Pencils down, please, Mr. Schatz.
Come on, there's no way I could have done that bad.
Jack, Juice Newton did not discover gravity. Even if we gave you the highest possible score on the essay portion, it still wouldn't come up enough for a passing grade here.
Let me tell you something. I own this school. I'm not gonna let you hold me back on my senior year.
Jack,
I ain't gonna take it. I ain't gonna take it.
You do summer school or you're back here next year.
Eat my shorts. I am never coming back to this school.
Prepare yourself for the kind of film that comes along once in a generation, or once in two different generations.
Can we talk about the volume? That's my man. I'm kicking it at 9 right now, but I'm ready to crank it to 10, party dude. You gotta bring it down a little.
People over there trying to wordle.
Who is that? Is that a custodian? Why don't you have a senior student making the morning announcements?
He actually is a senior. Can you give him some weed?
Well, you think I'm some kind of degenerate?
Duh. He's managed to ditch the exam for every year.
Pardon me, Bob, but that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
Take your pants off and make it happen. The girl from Flashdance. Take your pants off and make it happen.
Take your passion and make it happen, you idiot.
It's kind of a reverse loophole. You know, it's this.
Also, he's become something of a symbolic warning to all the other students on what they could become if they flunk out.
I have a problem with question 11.
What's the problem, Abigail?
The question contains an idiom that has an implicit socioeconomic bias. People of color are less likely to understand it.
Yo, I'm a thinker. Look at her. Yeah, she's cute. Think she'd go out with me?
Monday soccer, Tuesday STEM, Wednesday's engineering. Like,
when do you hang out?
What do you mean hang out?
I mean hang out, be with friends, socialize, commit pranks or low-level misdemeanors. Hang out.
I text and stuff.
Find a way to get this human defect out of this school on or before graduation day.
How would you like to make a few bucks working for us during the exam as a proctor?
No way, man. Are you freaking out of your mind?
What do you think a proctor does?
I'm playing some bitchin' tunes, but nobody's dancing. You don't drink, you don't smoke. What do you do? Take a quick look and settle your regret.
Awesome. Amazing.
That's great.
I you know what? It's like I've seen it so many times, but it's like I love watching it because it just brings back so many things. And then I love how you just like stick in things like, oh, there's people trying to wordle. Like I love the juxtaposition of the, you know, what you're doing versus the present moment.
2 decades coming, you know, crashing together, and
2 decades that are pretty far apart.
Yeah, two different,
very different.
2 different generations. That's the idea.
I love it. I love it so much. So let's talk about this movie, where it came from, and let's promote the hell out of it and see if we can help you guys get this. You know what? I don't even know what to say, because the way I hear you guys talking about it, like yesterday on the show, it was so inspiring, because you're just like, we're just doing it. You know what I mean? We're not like waiting for anything or looking for anything. We're just doing it ourselves, you know? And again, I think there's so much of that authenticity that shows through. It's just so exciting to see this come together. And the other thing that's exciting to me is I don't think I've ever seen either one of you in this kind of comedic atmosphere at all. Like, I mean, I've worked with you guys on some dark stuff, a lot of cops and blood and heavy stuff, and just to see you guys, this is great.
That's what a lot of this independent film world is it's all these gritty dramas and cop stories and mafia stories and thrillers and horror films, and we kind of realized that this world hasn't seen a lot of comedy done in it for a while. Independent comedies have kind of gone by the wayside a little bit. So we said, all right, can we break through with something like that? And that was near the early days of this. So
brilliant, totally brilliant.
Yeah, and I think to tie it into what your show is about is I'll let Ed tell the story of the genesis of the project, but the bottom line is, as you can understand, as you see the subject matter, we're men of a certain age, and we've been artists in our own right for a long time. And Ed, who's been a theater veteran and a theater director for 30 years and all that, and has done his stints in feature films, wanted to direct a feature film, at least one time get out a feature that he wrote and directed himself. And we talked about it for so long, but, language is just what it is, it's out there. But once you start that process and then you get with like-minded people who encourage that, now the language becomes little actions. So Ed would write, he would say to me, I want to play this kind of part, but nobody's casting this kind of part, and I don't usually get it. And I said, well, write your own part. That's what I did, just write. And once he started putting a couple of pages together, then before you know it, every 2 seconds, Ed was sending me 20 pages, and the momentum. So if you want to talk about creating your own reality, this man did it with just a little nugget of the first 2 pages come out, then the second 17 come out, then the second 40 come out, and before you know it, in 2 months, he had a feature script that was undeniable, and it was all right, well, now we got to make it.
Yeah.
And then you start buying equipment, and now you've committed. So what you're doing is you're taking what's here, right, and what's here, but then you take that one little action in the world, in the actual physical world, and whether it's with your checkbook or with your typewriter or with your computer pad, you're putting it into motion, and now it becomes now momentum happens, and something that didn't exist before exists. That's creating your own reality. That's what he did. That's what the example of what he did here is. So if that's what your show's about, you couldn't have a better example of it.
It's exactly what I saw. No, it's a million% what I saw. Yeah.
And there's another kind of aspect to all this too. And Russ has just talked about what I've been doing, but here's where it interplays with who you deal with in the world and the external forces. He encouraged me to start, you want the role, write the role. All right. Yeah. But I don't have the patience for that was where I originally came from. I was like, I write short scripts, little things, and I work on short projects. I don't have the patience for, to focus for that long to create something, of a feature length. And but then I had a couple ideas that were bouncing around in my head, and as I started to put them down, it became kind of this very freeing thing to build this world, build that reality, and it really started to just flow out. It just came right out, and each day there'd be a new scene in my head, there'd be a new couple characters in my head, and then I'd think about it more, and I this doesn't work, this doesn't connect to this unless I build it into this and keep putting the pieces together. But as that happened, even though Russ's original thing was, well, write the role for yourself and then you make it, I didn't figure we were ever going to go to that level of actually producing, creating, making this happen. I didn't figure I was in there where I couldn't see see what could happen down the line. or see the possible physical reality of that. And to me, it was just this exercise, get it all out, and be able to then say, hey, look at this. We've got this script. We've got all these fictional people and this fictional place and this fictional world. And then we would talk about it and say, wow, wouldn't it be great to have made this?
So how long ago did you write it?
I started in December 23. And I had the first like 40 to 50 pages in 2 days. And that's what I originally showed Russ. And there was a beginning, middle, and end there. It still needed to be fleshed out so much more. And I knew the things that needed to be in there. And I started building those things in. But it wasn't until I had a pretty much full script that I figured we'd always talk about. We'll always be able to say, hey, in that little fictional world that we have on the side there on paper, wouldn't this be cool? Wouldn't that be cool? But we weren't going to build it. I mean, it was just a hypothetical. And then Russ says, I got a new camera. I got this set of lenses. I got these 2 lights. Basically a few more pieces, and we've got the equipment for a couple features. So for what? We're doing this? And then you see how all of a sudden it says, well, now we're invested. Now we've got the things to start making it happen. Okay, and now if I pick up this light and this piece of equipment and this, and wow, there's no reason not to build that, build the reality out of that hypothetical. And and so sometimes it's those external forces, somebody kind of, with their hand at your back, just going, okay, now go.
Yeah. Well, I think Russ said it, like just hanging around the right people, right, who have the right idea, right? So many, we could get into the dark side of the world and what's going on outside of this little box right here, right? The 3 of us, but that's not the point. The point is the 3 of us, right? That we are focusing on ourselves and what we want to do to make ourselves happy, right? This little show makes me happy. This conversation makes me happy. And this movie makes me happy, but I can't imagine how happy it must make you guys, especially to be this far along. Like, now I know you guys were talking about shit, we did it, and now we need money now. We need more to take it further. But I mean, look, you guys know, I don't have to tell you, look at what you've done. Look at what you've created. I'm sure you guys are more than proud of the culmination of the years of your experience, Russ, and the years of your experience, Ed, coming together to become something greater than the sum of the parts, right? I mean,
well, there's a fallacy out there. You hear people a lot of times when you're going for your dreams, or there's this fallacy in that outside world that says, you got to pull yourself up by your bootstraps, and it's every man for himself, and it's like evolution is survival of the fittest. But the fact, you ask any evolutionary biologist or archaeologist or anthropologist, the reason we're here doing this right now is we didn't do it by ourselves. We were outmatched physically and mentally by every animal and plant and weather in the history of this planet. The only reason we're here is because we worked together. Once we developed language and we started to work together, we dominated the space. And people forget that the way to get ahead and the way to make reality, make your dreams happen, is not by yourself. Ed didn't do it by himself. I never did it nobody does it by themselves. You have to find those people and work together. That's evolution. That's moving forward. So the more we work together, the better off we are.
I love that.
And if you do something by yourself, what's the satisfaction in it too? What's the what brings you joy in that? What brings you that element that is fulfilling? It's when you're teaming with people that are, not necessarily always matching with you mind wise, but filling in, those parts that you need. And and that was something that was fun for me in all this, was that Russ and I have worked peripherally on different things and in different capacities together, but but this was a real good chance for us to go, kind of head to head with each other a little bit. And it's something we've been kind of playing around with different projects. We had we were looking at a 2-man play for a while during shutdown, and we were like, okay, maybe we could do this, and looking at different projects and looking for that right thing that we could really collaborate on. But that's the joy of it, is that you're throwing ideas up to somebody else, and they're catching it and throwing it back at you, and all of a sudden, it all grows and expands from there, and there's not. If I just did it by myself, it would just be that script and me at the computer typing into that script, and it'd be nice to have that final product of that. But how much more fulfilling when all of a sudden there's other people involved in it, and there's other people enjoying part of the reality that you had a hand in creating it.
Totally. No, I totally agree with that. And actually, Russ, I think you hit it on the head there, right? I think this moment in time, especially in this country and humanity, the divide, right? And it's not left and right. The divide is the two philosophies that we just talked about. And one is every man for himself versus we're all in this together.
Exactly.
And those are the philosophies that I see, and
the evidence is, it's not like you don't have to take my word for it. I mean, it's just proof is in the pudding.
Yeah.
Things get created like this when you do this, when you get together and do it. Things don't happen the other way. They might, but that's just pure luck, and it's usually not satisfying.
Listen, and there's a lot of ways for things to happen, for sure. You know what I mean? But, again, I think it's all about the way it feels, you know what I mean? The the authenticity of it, all of that stuff. I just want to acknowledge Jill Santos from the class of 1987. The premise, my friends and I have been perplexed at how different our teens kids of having such a different experience. And you guys talked about that on Governors, because you were working with younger kids, right? And I guess you guys kind of found out some things, or I guess experienced that whole thing. Tell us what's going on with the generations and what's so different.
Yeah, it's very different. On the show yesterday, we talked a lot about the sensitivity levels being very different between one generation to the other. And I found that in most of the things that did appear different between these two generations was kind of the best place to be would be somewhere in the middle. But Russ will talk a lot about how the pendulum always swings far to one side and then to the other. And and wouldn't it be nice if we could balance this out and live somewhere down in that middle ground? Because this generation now, they're so 180 degree different from that 80s generation, that Gen X, but at the same time there's some odd similarities too. The kids we dealt with in this film, the young people in this film, they were all terrific, and they were terrific kids. But the generation in general, they have different, they value different things, or they're cautious about different things than we were. I interviewed a whole slew of teachers, especially high school teachers, in the writing of the script, and they told me such interesting things about how the kids were less interested today in learning to drive, getting their license. They don't have as big an interest in that. And I remember, my generation, everybody was signing up for driver's ed classes, and the day they turned 16, it was like that. As soon as I turned 16, I'm having my parents take me down to get my learner's permit. And that isn't the value now. That I feel like it's a crazy world out there. I don't necessarily want to be out there as much. So all these little things we started, working into the script, all these differences in these generations, where just made it was easy to create this world where these two ages did not meet. And
in fact, when we scouted some right down to when we were ready to shoot, For instance, there's a scene in the nurse's office, right, where
Mm-hmm.
we talk to Ed's character talks to the school nurse that he's in love with, right? So we went to a school to scout out the location and spoke to the school nurse, and she told us, how many kids she gets in there, and we were like, well, that many kids get sick or hurt? She's like, no, it's all anxiety, and and we were dumbfounded by that, by the amount of sort of how she works with school counselors, and it's a whole different world than when I went to the school nurse to get out of class or something. It was like they're going in for anxiety. So we worked all of these things into the script. There's so many of and that's what's really nice about the comedy of it. It's Gen X for us. There's a lot of Easter eggs for us in there for sure, but we tried to really highlight the stuff for these kids that they haven't had a movie about. Like nobody's really talked about.
Yeah. I haven't seen a movie like this in a while. That's interesting. So let me ask you a question. Did the script evolve as you started working with the kids and with the schools?
Yeah.
Like, because you're talking about once you started talking to the people at the schools and getting experience, you already had the script written.
Yeah.
But now you evolved it based on all of this.
Oh, we kept throwing in little things here and there because we find another thing when we were doing that walk through the school. We noticed that the lockers didn't have locks on them, or that they were all like turned around. And Russ asked, do they use the lockers anymore? And it was like, no, kids don't use lockers in school anymore. That's they carry everything on their backpack with them all day long. They don't, maybe a couple kids here and there, but for the most part, the locker, which to us was our home base. That's where we lived. This is my living space. It's this high by this wide, and that's where I spend a good portion of my day. Whenever I'm not in class, I'm right there, and that's not their reality. That's not the world they live in anymore. And that took us aback because we weren't aware of that, and it's such a
I wasn't
major
until just
change.
now either.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
But that's what makes the picture fun, is the clash between you have Ed's character, the fish out of water. He's there from 1986, and then these kids are from today, and how they talk to each other is what makes the whole movie fun.
Yes. A lot of I definitely noticed in at least the little bit that I've seen, the scenes that I've seen there, it's definitely a lot about the script, right? And about the dialogue that's happening and the references that you guys are making. And, it's just, I find it great. And especially also the characters being, again, I'm right there in that generation, being able to reference so many different characters, like from Jeff Spicoli on one end, right? This like idiot guy who just like, to the Breakfast Club kind of characters who are a little bit more, I don't know if intellectual is the right word, but there was a little more, brainy stuff happening with that dialogue in that movie. Some of the movies were inane, kind of intentionally, and then some of them, had messages, and I think this is like a good mixture of that.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's what we were looking for. That we wanted to film that on the surface level. Is going to entertain you, going to make you laugh, going to make you enjoy the nostalgia of it, and wallow in that a little bit, like, oh, I know that reference. Oh, they're hearkening back to Ferris Bueller or Breakfast Club, whatever it is. And but then, although the Gen Z, issues and things that speak to them, we went, I think, a little light-handed. We weren't heavy-handed about making any either judgments or providing solutions or anything like that. But I think the deeper you look into the film, you say, hey, there's more things to talk about with what this new generation is going through, that maybe needs to be talked about a little deeper. So I think we're looking to open up some conversations like that once you get past the laughs. Enjoy the film for the laughs and the good time and the nostalgia, and then look into it a little deeper and go, oh, there's other things going on here. There's other things that are being said.
Right.
Not necessarily presenting a solution.
You said, we were really proud of it, and I think that's the most proud I am of the piece, is that we went into it, with Ed's idea of kind of creating sort of a Ferris Bueller fantasy vibe mixed with sort of the poignancy of the Breakfast Club. You know, like you said, the Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Ferris Bueller kind of goofiness with this sort of poignancy of the Breakfast Club, all set in a high school today, and also with the look and feel of those John Hughes movies, the way they were lit, the way they, and with very little resources. You know, I think we got that, and I'm very, very proud of that.
That's awesome. No, that's and that talks a lot about the experience that I was talking about at the beginning of the show, all of the different roles that you guys have played in filmmaking throughout your careers, you know, from both of you. I mean, I don't think I even knew Russ, that you were doing stage, you know, earlier. Ed, I think I knew you were involved in stage, you know, and now you know your company, It Unleashed, you know, you're going to the high schools, you're shooting these things for the kids. Like, I mean, I love that. I think that's awesome that like it's just a part of who you are. You know what I mean? It's like there's no like pride, right? Like oh, you're shooting a high school play, but you're like, yeah, because I remember what it was like to be in those plays. You know what I mean? I remember the energy around it. You know, I mean, you know, the live stream is all about energy and what energy means, and I think that's what I like about both you guys. Go ahead.
That experience where I do go into the schools and everything and all, and I see the you know, the theater departments and things like that. You know, I get to know the kids, or at least some of them, here and there, and that did kind of open this whole world up to, okay, I have been seeing this. I just didn't see all the little anxieties and problems and struggles that they go through, and doing this has been kind of an awakening thing for me to understand a little bit more of what's going on with this generation that I have not understood, you know, prior to now.
That's great. No, I think that's super important, you know, especially if it comes through in the message of the film, because, you know, you know, the live stream of consciousness is all about energy, and that we're all connected, right? And there's obviously, you know, if I go outside of this box right here, you know, there's obviously a lot of disconnection happening. There's a lot of division happening. There's a lot of, you know, stuff happening. And, you know, I think it's important that we all remember, you know, we're human. We're all in this together. That same sentiment that I was saying, you know.
Well, Mike, if you want to go real deep, you know, you didn't ask me to reiterate my definition of confidence, but I've given it to you several times on this show.
Listen, you're welcome to talk about it. Where are you at now?
I'm no different than I was before. In fact, I'm more committed to it now, which is consciousness is elemental. There's only consciousness, and you and me and Ed and this laptop and everybody out there, we're just sort of manifestations of that same consciousness, looking back at each other, you know. So it's consciousness examining itself through different little avatars of itself so that it learns something new. So you couldn't be more connected, you know. You're the drop and you're the ocean at the same time. So you're the wave in the ocean. That's how I always believe.
Love it. And you know what, Russ, I think you just made me realize why I continually pursue this conversation, right? Like, what does it mean? What does it mean? Because no matter how much I think I understand what you just said and believe wholeheartedly what you just said and know it to be true, I just don't understand how I can be here in my room looking at this camera, having a conversation with you as something separate from myself. Like,
well, look at it this way. If you played a video game, right? And you put on a virtual reality helmet, right? And you operated all the characters in the video game. Let's say there were no non-player role. Like, they were all controlled by you, all the characters in the game. And the game was so good. Like, the graphics and the immersion on that virtual reality was so good, you just got stuck in that game and you just forgot.
I forgot that
you were in a game. And all those other characters look just like other people, and they look really real, but you're part of the whole thing. You're making it all happen. So I think that's kind of what consciousness is. And I think the only thing that always baffled me over the years was why. You know, if that's really the case, why? And I think what I've come to kind of convince myself is that if you knew everything, right, how would to me, life has to be dynamic. It has to keep moving.
Yeah.
It appreciates novelty. In other words, there has to be new and novel things. So if you were all powerful, all omnipotent God of some kind that was just all, nothing would ever be novel. So you'd have to dive into something to lie to yourself, to come back, to learn something new.
Yeah.
So I think we're just confusing ourselves so that we learn something new. we're already there.
And is it even wise to pursue that knowledge, right? Like,
I think it is. That's kind of the nature of how it works. You have to pursue novelty, and that's what we're here to do.
The novelty, yes, but I'm saying like the all-knowing wisdom. Like if I figure out, right, why I'm here talking to you as something separate than me, and that all goes away.
Yeah, then
you know.
You'll find a new game to play.
Find a new game, right? That moment where you're just like, "Holy moly!" VR set off. Oh my God! So Evelyn is out there saying the trailer is great. When will it be available to see? What is involved to complete it? Let's talk about that for a second. Where are you guys at with this film?
We currently we have I think 2 more shoots to finish off, and then we'll have all the footage will be completely done. We've shot probably about 95% of the film. We have that last little 5% to shoot, and we're already knee deep in the post-production process. We've got a lot of the film, kind of a rough cut going of that. Russ has been kind of heading that up, and after this, we'll start tightening it up. We'll start adding sound design and soundtrack and all the other little needs and cleaning it up. And then probably by midwinter we'll have a pretty finished product, and we'll tighten it up a little bit from there. And then by spring this thing will be out there.
And again, that a lot of that finishing bit all depends on how much we can swing. Because the film will be done. The principal photography will be done, but it's all the sound design, sound edit, and a movie like this, as you remember the movies from the '80s, they really were scored with needle drops, with songs more than score. So we're going to look to try and do some of that, and that's where we need the extra help to finish it.
Right. You were talking about that, getting licensing for some songs and stuff like that.
Things like that.
And actually, that was one thing I was going to say about the trailer that I noticed. You did that really well in the trailer with more modern music, a modern soundtrack. So I think, again,
we've got some things that really harken to the 80s, that we've already licensed, that are real 80s sounding songs, and we've got some things that are a little newer that work for either today or kind of there's even one song that we're using that sounds very early 2000s to me, late 90s, early 2000s, but it's a great theme to it, and it really has a good fit with the film we're making. So it's going to span the generations a little bit.
And back in the 80s when we talked on the Governor's show, Ed mentioned that a lot of those movies, those were the first times you heard those 80s songs, those big that became humongous hits. They were used in those. So if there's any like aspiring band out there, who wants to make the big splash and have their song become the thing, you can always contact Ed and find out what's going on.
Reach out.
And that's really what we'd love to see more of the soundtrack become is, bands that are saying, I got a great song that fits this film. We've been getting contacts from people that score films, and it's like, this isn't that type of score. It's
right.
It's going to be a soundtrack. It's individual tracks, individual songs. What song's gonna rock real hard but fit in right behind this crazy fun action we've got going on all over the place.
So let me ask you a question on that front, and this may or may not go over too well. I know, Russ, you and I have talked a bit about AI. Have you played around with any of the musical AI stuff? Because I could help you create a song that will sound like it's coming from the 80s and with the words that you want it to say.
Yes. Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, I've done that myself. I've played with that the Udios and those things, and created some songs that I really liked. That because I write lyrics too. So but I'm not a composer.
Yeah.
So here's this thing composing with me as a partner. It's a fascinating tool. We're not above participating in it. It's just a matter of, it's a little, especially with those particular things and the rights, they kind of own that, Udio kind of owns and the other ones.
There's a couple of different platforms out there, but
right. So there's a lot of different ways to go. Ed and I are not above looking at how AI can help us. And I think, again, I'm not afraid of it as a tool. And it's okay to use as a tool to help you create. Obviously, organically, you'd like to have human beings, join the parade. But
the whole feel of this is very.
I think we have a little bit of a hierarchy on what we're looking for, how we're looking to build this soundtrack, and ideally, if we had musicians or even musicians we know that are writing and performing and putting together this songs that are crafted for this film, that would be the number one thing we could want. And so as much real live human being music that's created and can fit into this film, we'd like to do that first. Then we've got licensing houses that we pay the rights for, and we can access these song libraries and have legal use of it. And that's been that's music created by people too, just we don't know them. We'll use we'll use those songs as well. But then there might be a small specialty need or two that we may say we've got to craft this ourselves.
Right.
Because we need a very particular type of sound that we're not going to find out there from anybody else. And for that type of thing, and we've named a couple little bits of the film where it's like right here we may need to create something a little bit using AI just to fill in this little thing. And I wouldn't consider those to be the main parts of the soundtrack.
Sure.
But they might be able to fill in some gaps that we might not be able to create otherwise.
Right. Cool. It sounds really cool to have a project that is so faceted and like there's so many parts to it that are, again, I'm just going back to this, all of the things that you guys love to do, right? All of the parts of this, I think that's where that authenticity comes from, right? All of the parts are the things that you really love about the craft, and you're able to really tie them together. And again, both of you on such high levels, and probably I'm imagining everybody on the crew, right? Because one of the things for me about working in independent films, and a bunch of those experiences were on sets with you guys at various times, was that energy. Again, coming back to that word energy, is that everybody on those sets wants to be there because they're creating something. Nobody's getting paid any sort of amount of money that's like, oh, I'm just here for the money,
Well, we were very lucky because and again, I mentioned this on the other show, the crew we have is small. I mean, at best, on our best day, it might be a crew of 4, and at our worst day, it's a crew of 1 and 2, so, but the 2 primary, I call them kids, they're 25 years old, 24 years old, but these 2 guys are very, very talented. Ed worked with them. They worked with Ed shooting for his company. And we were going to go one direction, and then we were going to go and then these guys fell in our lap. And when we talked to them, we sat down and really talked about what we wanted to achieve. We gave them the reference movies to look at from the 80s, saying these are the John Hughes-esque type vibe that we're going for. It was really clear, and this is really exciting, that them at that age, at 22, 24 years old, knew them, knew the pictures, knew the style, knew exactly how to light for that, how to create that, and beyond just the talent to be able to pull that off, which is, when you see the picture, the one reaction we get a lot when we show these scenes is, wow, it looks just like that stuff. Well, that's hard to do by itself. It's really hard to do with just 2 guys. And so beyond that talent of doing that, they're also, like you said, when you're working on these sets, Mike, and it's 6, 8, 10 hours sometimes. You can have the most talented people in the world, but if they're a dick all day, you don't want, nobody wants to do that. So these guys had the right attitude, the right energy. I mean, pure just gold. I would work with these guys every day if I could. They're wonderful.
Awesome.
And Ed can tell you their name, more about them, and it's awesome.
They've been terrific. Our director of photography is Jaden Moffat, and he's done work with me for I'm going to say about 4 years now, and he's just tremendous. And he's got such an eye for what we need to create, and he looks at it, and then he sets his gaffer Trevor Parento into action, and all of a sudden they're putting up lights. Another one of the It Unleashed staff members, Richie Madden, has been there, and he's just Johnny on the spot wherever he's got to be and whatever he's got to set up. He's right on top of everything. And these guys have just such a level of professionalism and such a positive attitude without giving anybody a hard time about anything. They can inject their opinion. Hey, I think we can help you out by da 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 da. And but there's never any conflicts on set. There's never any problems. There's never anybody coming head to head. It's a real beautiful collaborative process with these guys.
Yeah,
That's
very
awesome.
lucky.
Yeah, that's great to hear, man. I'm envious. I wish I could have been there on some of the sets. I had a busy summer, but I know you guys invited me down, and I really wish I could have came down, because being on set with you guys is definitely a pleasure. It's
really been a good experience.
Let's take a look at another scene. This, I think, sets up this. This one's called The Offer. This scene, I think, this kind of sets up the story.
This is Russ and I together, yes.
And this is where I was like, oh my God, look at these two guys doing something I've never seen them do before together. So let's take a look at this. Let me just set this up for theater mode here, and let's roll it.
Wait a minute. Jack, what if I told you there was a way for you to graduate without taking the test?
You serious? Oh, no, I think I'm good. Although
what?
Well, my parents are putting a lot of pressure on me to, graduate and stuff.
Wait, you still live with your folks?
What?
No judgment. Here's the thing. I think there's a way that you and we can help each other. How would you like to make a few bucks working for us during the exam as a proctor?
What? No friggin' way! Are you out of your mind?
What? No, Jack, it's easy, I swear.
No, you're a freaking psycho. I don't care how much you want to pay me.
Why? What's the problem?
Because you're freaking sick. You're a freaking sick psycho. There ain't no way you're getting me to put my finger up someone's butt.
Jack, what do you think a proctor does?
It's funny. It's just so funny seeing you guys in those roles, because Ed, I've never seen you play somebody like that. And Russ, to see you as a school principal is
it's a little different for me.
Totally crazy.
When I direct for stage, my favorite thing is always to find actors that I can put doing things that nobody's seen them do before, because all the stage actors I know, okay, we know what they can do. We know what they can do. And then when you see them do something they're capable of, but entirely different from their usual MO, is so much fun. And I knew right from the start that Russ could make something wonderful of this. So it was like, yep, you're not the killer, you're not the mob boss, you're not the you're not the psycho character, and let's do something really different.
Yeah,
and,
totally.
And it's been a lot of fun, because there's just a lot of laughs in all these gestures and all the character that's been created there.
I'm very, very proud of it, because it was hard for me to do It was hard for me to get into it. Once I found the thing, I got into it, but it was tough for me to find it. So what came out, I'm very happy with. I think it works.
I can't wait to actually sit down and watch this. And it's been a long time since I felt that way about a movie. Like, oh, I want to sit down and I want to watch this thing. Let me ask you a question. Interesting thought I had about the generations, and the sensitivity and kind of what you said, the pendulum, Russ, the things you were talking about there. Just to kind of get, I guess, a little more serious for a second, is so I think, we're probably all three from close enough, right? Close enough generation.
Pretty much.
And I can remember seeing things when I was a kid, not really understanding it until I was a little older, like Archie Bunker, right? All in the Family, like TV shows like The Jeffersons, like these things that are really, really charged, with an energy. I think that energy of the pendulum, the opposite side of the pendulum that you're talking about, right? And I think for me, I can definitely remember moments in my life where I was just like, ooh, yeah, I could see how that's funny, but also not, right? Like insensitive, right? So, I mean, I think were we part of that? I guess we were, right? The pendulum is swinging, so we're along that arc of the pendulum. And were we like at the good part of the pendulum? You know what I mean? Like,
well,
was it too much before us? We were like here, and now it's like too much sensitive, or
that's not a bad way to look at it. I'm not gonna vouch for us as being right where we should have been, but I will tell you this, that it's the world's kind of designed to be in opposition to you. It's like writing a script. The characters are written to conflict with each other, and that's kind of that's the game we're in. That's the video game we're in. It's kind of designed that way. So you have to develop a way to deal with that with grace. And if everything is going to be triggering to you, if every bit of language or every bit of thing is going to be so damaging to you, it's one thing to be physically assaulted, but if everything is a verbal assault, and if everything is something that you can't handle, that's why I think back in that time, you look at that, you say, well, they couldn't make All in the Family today, they couldn't make The Jeffersons today, and that's a shame, because there was a way we handled that stuff, because we understood, I think, innately, whether we knew it consciously or not, we could handle the power of ideas and language without personally allowing them to penetrate us in such a damaging way. And I think whether you call that a shield or whatever, we had a filter that allowed us to handle that. I think that's my opinion. That I think has been lost. I think it's been softened, and now that thing that allows you to digest these things out there and not take them so personally is gone. That's been removed. So now everything is damaging, and that's not the fault. That's not anybody's fault. Like when we talked about these kids and how different they are, it's not like they grew up in the world we did either. Their brains are literally wired differently. Literally, from the time they were kids, they've been in front of a screen, and there's an attention span, and there's a way that your neural networks build that it's totally different. So they can't be blamed for this lack of handling this stuff. But that doesn't change the fact that they don't. So I think there's got to be some way to maybe remove some of these screens a little bit, but we might be too far past that. So I don't know how you get back to that, but that's what's missing. We were a little more able to handle the hardness of it, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, it's a conundrum for sure. Ed, you were going to say something.
I also have heard other things that have struck me at times, that when is, and in our lifetime, in the last 20, 30 years, we've seen some major events in our lives that have changed our lives significantly. But I've heard some talk at times about how it's really been probably 100 years since we had since we've experienced life and death type struggle. Things like things to the level of the Great Depression of the early 20th century. You could talk about economies now, over the past 20, 30, 40 years, but that real desperation, that real life struggle. We've got so many riches, so much technology, so many good things in our lives that have made the level of struggle so far below what our ancestors even just 100 years ago dealt with, that we haven't felt that in our lives in our lifetimes, and it's kind of had some effect on what we take for granted and what we can handle as a result of not really knowing real struggle. So take that for what you may, and extrapolate as.
It's listen, I think it's an important time for people to really reflect on everything that's going on outside of them and what's going on inside of them. That's how I kind of ended up in the this metaphysical world and the spiritual community, and just kind of like the idea of meditating. Even that is something that is there's around me, there's everyone gets it and knows what it is, but there's a lot of people in the world that just, it's such a foreign concept to or you say it to them and they're like, oh, I can't do that, I can't slow my brain down. And it's like, that's a whole other conversation, right? The hamster wheel that we all exist on, and all of that. But again, that's the beauty of this, and what you guys are doing is you've just forget about all of that shit. You know what I mean? And do what really makes you happy, you know what I mean? Yeah. And create your own reality within the bigger reality. That shit's still going on outside of us all, you know what I mean?
And it always will.
And it always will, and we got to deal with it. But it's how you travel through it, right? And you guys have this amazing film that you've created, and this relationship that you've created. I'm sure that you guys have more projects inside of you together. Ed, you were talking about how before the project you were talking about working together as actors, in a piece and putting together a piece. I love that about the people who I know that are in your world, you guys, both of you, Lucas Hassel, people like that who, it's just like, they're not just an actor, they're not just a director, you know what I mean? There's somebody who's really immersed in a love for storytelling, on so many levels, right? The dialogue of a story, the visual aspect of a story, right? The essence of everything. And that, I believe, is why I wanted you guys on the show. That's the connection between consciousness and creating your own reality and who you guys are, right? Authenticity is like the highest vibration, even higher than the love.
Yeah. The only regret I have my whole life about all this is that the art we've chosen is so difficult to do, to put together, because if I was a songwriter, if I was a novel writer, if I was a painter, I go in my room and I do it. Even as an actor, if I wanted to go hit the streets again and try and do that, I'm sure I could get parts and get in projects, and I don't do that anymore. But as filmmakers, you need an army of people and a ton of support from the world to just make the one thing you want to do. So, yeah, we're creating it, but we need as much help as we can get, and that's where we're at.
Totally, and I'm glad that you guys took the time to talk to me about everything that's going on. I'm glad I got to see it, because I know it's been like you've been talking about it for the last year. I remember, Ed, you guys approached me about maybe doing some more artwork for it, and it was like even just an idea then. And since then, you shot the whole thing. Amazing. And I mean, we didn't even really get to talk about. We did a little bit, but not the specific idea that, Ed, when you were writing this script, you were channeling, right? You were channeling the energy of, I want to do this idea, and just bringing it all to life. So brilliant job, both you guys. Bravo. So great talking
Thank
to you.
you.
So great to see you guys.
Awesome.
seeing you,
Awesome
man.
to be here.
Awesome. So I guess what's next? I know Ed, you were talking about possibly trying to get the Indiegogo back up and running. I know that was probably going to be a little bit, but I've got it on the
So
bottom.
yeah, we'll probably have that back up and running in a couple days. Just after a campaign ends, which it just ended last night. You have to submit into Indiegogo, and then we'll have that live again, where if people want to back the project, contribute to the project, be a part of the project in any way, that'll be up in just a couple days.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what's important for anybody who's on your end out there listening to know what they're contributing to, because they're like, well, shit, the guys made the movie already, right? It when it's finished, as you can see, it's a legit feature film that deserves the kind of distribution that a film like that could get. So yeah, we'll do the regular festival route, but really to push it to the next level. I mean, if people want to get in at the ground floor of, the next Napoleon Dynamite kind of an idea, that next high school movie that came out of nowhere, this has got that kind of a pedigree to it. And I wouldn't say that if I didn't really believe that. So that's what helps promote that to the next place. So
I love that ethic too. I love the idea of like, hey, just be a part of this. Just put your name on it and be a part of it, because that even feels good when somebody does that. It feels good.
It sure is going to feel good when you see it in Sundance and your name's up there as a producer. So.
Totally. I want to say hello to Dottie, who's out there. She says prior generations had an external struggle. It'll be interesting to see the younger generation who are facing internal struggles find their own strength and resilience. Yes. And we got to help. We've got to just be the loving essences that we are in all of that. I do have one more, I believe, clip you guys sent me, which is a little more. I think this is great. This is a good part where it's a little more heartwarming, right? This is like your character's actually relating to the generation.
Yes.
So let me see if I got that going. Yep, there it is.
And it's that disconnect too that is all a part of it.
Mm-hmm. All right, here we go. Scene 35, Jack and Logan.
I was a latchkey kid. My parents didn't come home until late every day, and frankly, they didn't pay a lot of attention to me when they were around. Then my friends became parents, and they did all that crazy helicoptering stuff. From generation to generation, parents are always trying to fix the things that they dealt with. But sometimes bad results come from good intentions.
Yeah, but maybe they're right. I mean, I don't want to end up a loser like you.
You think I'm a loser?
Yeah, sure. I mean, everyone does. Isn't that like your thing?
Let me tell you something. I might be an idiot.
Yeah?
What?
You said, I may be an idiot. It sounded like you were going to say, but, and tell me how you're like smarter than everyone thinks or something like that.
No, that was it.
Oh.
I love that. I love that scene.
It's a silly laugh. It's a silly laugh in there, but there's a real point behind it. That whole parents are always trying to fix things for the next generation. You're always trying to do better for your kid, and this is a whole element of this film. There's a little boomer element in there too, and it's boomers relating to Gen X relating to Gen Z, and there is that thing. I remember, I don't know how we're doing on time, but I remember, my parents and my parents' generation, it was all about go to college, go to college, go to college. And it wasn't because of, career opportunities or knowledge or anything like that. It was because they saw everybody in their generation that didn't go to college went to Vietnam. And that shaped them in such a way as to say, you got to go to college, because the kids that went to college, didn't get drafted, or were less likely to get drafted. So then it was a whole generation of us thinking, all right, you have to go to college to get anywhere in life. And, it wasn't necessarily the answer for everybody,
Right. Everybody's different. Yeah, no, totally.
But each generation is trying to do right by the next generation, but the problems are completely different. We weren't dealing with Vietnam in the 80s and the idea of being drafted. So
just a note on the genius of the writing of of the movie. That's a great little microcosm scene because his character is so out of touch that he indirectly helps the kids. You know what I like what happens
accidentally.
He accidentally gives the kids some enlightenment, and he does it throughout the movie, which is that's what makes it fun.
the accidental prophet.
That's exactly what it is.
That's exactly it. It's a little bit of
out there. Good to see.
What's the Peter Sellers movie? Being There.
Yeah,
There's
right.
a little bit of that in there, you know.
Nice, totally. Yeah, brilliant writing, great dialogue. I love it. Again, I'm so looking forward to seeing this, so I could just like hear every little one-liner and like.
Well, we're gonna have Ed and I discussed that for guys like you, we're gonna have a drinking game. So you watch the movie and you go every 1980s reference you can pick, you'll be drunk by the first act.
That's great. That's awesome. Very exciting. Very exciting. Oh man, it's so good talking to you. I can't believe we've already been doing this for an hour. I don't want to take up too much of your time. Is there anything that you want to say to my audience about creating your own reality or the energy of what you guys have created here?
Boy, you know, it's just on my half, it's just so much, it's so satisfying to build this and build, you know, just something that happens in your imagination and see it come to fruition, see it become a real thing. But something I found in the writing process, I always felt constricted when I was trying to create something, trying to write, because I felt like, well, you have to do this and you have to do this and you have to live by this certain set of rules. And when I freed myself up from that idea that there were any rules and just said, well, I can take this story, I can take this character, I can take this language in any direction I want, and it doesn't matter because I'm just telling a story and it can go anywhere I want it to go. And it doesn't have to fit by any conventional rules. It's a very, very freeing experience to allow yourself to just have that freedom, to just go and not worry about where it's going to end up for a while and just see where it is later. And it's a really good, you know, really good stream of consciousness to go on, is to allow yourself that.
Mazel tov on it.
Yeah, nice experience.
And I'll just bring it back to what I said at the beginning, which is, you know, you're a creator. We're all creators, you know, especially no matter what religious affiliation you may have. If you believe God created man in his own image, well, that's what it means to me. And I'm not a religious person at all. It means that a creator created a bunch of creators. We are that creator, constantly creating. So to do that, you can't just stay here. It's that first little thing, that first little bit of action, that the first tap on the keyboard, the first, you know, purchase that puts you a piece of equipment or whatever it is. But once you do that, the universe that you're part of kind of takes notice, and then it starts to, then it throws something else in your way, and that's all it is. So you want to create your own reality. It's that one action first.
Do it.
Just do what's one thing, and then things.
Yeah, it's just doing it. It's just doing it. I love it. I love it. Awesome. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. Awesome. Beautiful conversation. I really
thank you.
It. Our pleasure.
All right. Don't go away. Don't go away. I'm going to run my credits, but I want to say goodbye to you guys personally before we say goodnight to each other. But thanks for being here. I don't even know what I got going on next week on Holding Space. I've got 2 shows going on now. I'm on another network on Tuesdays and on Thursdays, but I don't even know who I have coming up in the next week. I just know it's an amazing adventure, and the audience always shows up. So thank you guys for always being here.
What you're doing is great, man. It's a great it's a great concept. So
thank you, and Dottie, thank you, and that's what I needed to hear tonight. Awesome. I'm glad you showed up. I'm glad you showed up. Thanks. All right, guys. I will see you soon. Again, don't go away. To my audience, I will see you on Tuesday and on Thursday. Peace.
This is the theme song for the live stream of consciousness. You gotta ask yourself whether reality is a dream or you a dream for reality. We're all a part of the answer to the meaning of it all. Come in and join us for the moment.